Started the Shloshim Agbola 3 days before Shavuos. There are different minhagim that are pertaining to those days before we get into Shavuos itself. First of all, the old question, when does the Sfira end officially? I mean, the Minhagei Sfira, the Avelos. So a lot of it depends on what your minhag was or is. If you held the first half, it's not relevant really. It ended a long time ago. If you held both halves, so al pi raiv, most people are noyeg until the first day of Shoshis Me'Hagbola, not including Rosh Chodesh Sivan. But if you didn't keep, if you kept 33 days before altogether, so then technically some hold that you could include Rosh Chodesh Sivan, because you want to have 33 days of Avelos. So then if you have that from before, so then you could some have the minute that already Rosh Chodesh Sivan, it's off the Avelos. You take haircuts, do everything. Except for Arizal went all the way till Shavuos to get haircuts. Up his side, he didn't take a haircut all the way till Erev Shavuos. But I think the basic minhag olam, I think, is the Shalosh Me'Hagbola. Those that keep the second half. Some could do a Shodesh Sivan. The Gimel Me'Hagbola is days that are very mukadashim b'yoser. It's the lashon of the Scheiner. It's mukadashim b'yoser, and it's Indian, a person who spends time learning, preparing for Kabbalah Torah. So a person should learn more during these 3 days to sort of prepare himself. It's not just to sleep to prepare yourself, to stay up at night to learn, but it's actually to learn to prepare yourself. It's part of the experience. Ad kedei kach that it's brought down. I forget from who. I think from Maril maybe. It's brought down that that it actually is not over. The learning of Shavuos night is not over until Musaf. That's the Musaf is the Ikar Kedushas Hayom. And if you learn all night and you fall asleep and sleep through davening, you miss Musaf, you're missing the ending. And some even stayed up a whole day after a whole night. We don't have the koiches for it, but there were those that did it. They stayed up a whole day, whole night, and then stayed up the whole day Shavuos also, because everybody sleeps during the day and no learning gets in. They say the Avnei Nezer, his father, the Avnei Nezer was a Kaddish Moed. His father would learn during the times when everybody was busy, like Shavuos Day and other things, people sleeping, busy preparing, and he would make a point of learning. And b'schar zeh, he got this son, the Avnei Nezer. So so the Shavuos really starts by the Gimel Me'Hagbola. We're already sort of warming up. Okay. There's a minute to put out grass in the shul. It's called sofim, to put grass or flowers. People put flowers. It looks nice on flowers. But anything because of by Matan Torah, we were outside by the mountain, and there was grass outside on the mountain. So they would actually put it on the floor. They would spray it on the floor of the Beis Medrash, the grass and the. So that was a minhag, and there's a question. And there's also another minhag which is not really connected. Another minhag to put trees in Beis HaKnesses, to put trees. And that minhag was because of the Natzeres were nidin al haperos. We're judged on the fruit of the year. The Shlosh says the fruit refers to the men, people, but we're considered the people that were nidin for our learning, our meisim, what we do. That's the peros. But Pashup Shabbos we need on the peros, on the fruit, and so to remind us of that, we should make sure to daven with extra kavanah to put the trees in the Beis HaKnesses. That was a minig. But in Chutz La'aretz they mevatel that minig. Many places the Goyin was mevatel a minig because of Chukas Akum. Because by the Goyim they used to have, I don't know if they have still today, but they used to have trees in the churches. So then, because Chukas Akum we mevatel the minig of trees. Now there's a shaila, does that minig, bittul minig of the trees revert back also just to the trees, or even to the grass and the flowers? That seems to be a disagreement in the Poskim. There's some that are clear that they were in Chutzos and mevatel the minig on the flowers and grass also, and some go no, it was only on the trees and only on flowers. Two different mahalchim in the poskim.
But if we started first this minhag, then they copied.
Yeah, it's always like that. They always copied from us.
Okay, we
used to daven. We used to daven with our hands up. Let's get up hold like this. That's right. We used to daven like this. And then when the Christians came along and they took it over because they held that they were the real Jews, so they started davening like this. So then we stopped. Now, if you look in it's interesting. Some people daven like this. So you have a picture of Moses like this. Moses didn't daven like this. He davened like this. But it came to be daven like this to do different than the Goyim. But we don't daven totally. We don't daven with our hands up, even though there's big in Yoni and Kabbalah about davening like that. But we don't do it. The Chukas Akum. So there's a lot of we don't know. The guy does it. It becomes tummy like. We don't want to be involved in that. So they put stuff in the.
The Torah has an example of Matzeva. Matzeva used to be...
Matzeva, that's right. Matzeva is another example. There's reasons, other reasons why we don't.
I wonder if they mean Christmas trees.
Right. What?
I wonder if they mean Christmas.
Could be they mean Christmas trees. It could be that's where it comes from, the Christmas trees, yeah. They still put trees in. So we put in Eretz Yisrael, in the Arab world, where they didn't put trees in. So there, they weren't really, some places they weren't mevatel the minig, at least for the grass and the flowers, they weren't really mevatel it. So again, there's different minhagim, nari pashte, whichever minhag you have, you do. Basically, in the yeshivas and places like that, they don't do anything. In a lot of the shuls, they do put flowers and things in. I don't know what they do up here.
Sorry? No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
In the shul, they do, but not in yeshivas.
She looks like a Rabbi. No, because it was that focus about
Now, we know this brought down from the Shloah, from his father, the Shem, the Marash, that, where I put it here. Okay, but there was a minute to start. It brought down from the Marash that we don't make Kiddush Shavuos night until it's Seis HaKachavim, until it's dark. And the reason is that it should be Tamimos. Because we count the Sfira, 49 days, really 50 days to the Sfira. So we want the 49th day to be full totally, so we start Shavuos after Seis HaKachavim. So we don't make early Shavuos. All the other Yom Tov Shavuos, you don't make early Shavuos. The Taz brings down mitamzeh that a person should daven Ma'ariv after Tzeis. Shouldn't daven Ma'ariv early. That's a whole debate in Achronim exactly where the Taz pulled us out. Because if you look in the Shloah, it's clear that it was only Kiddush that he said. Shouldn't make Kiddush after. You should make Kiddush after Tzeis HaKachavim, but Ma'ariv you could daven earlier. But it says clearly you could daven earlier. But the Taz stretches it that even Ma'ariv you should say after Tzeis HaKachavim because of Tamimus, you want it to be Tamimus.
It makes sense from the point of view of Tamimus.
It makes, yeah.
You daven Ma'ariv, and you say it's not yet Shavuos, it's a Sfira.
Yeah. So actually it's like this. Pasha, let's say you make a Shabbos early, right? You make early Shabbos. That doesn't mean that it's not the day yet. It just means that you makabel Kedusha Shabbos early. Does that mean that Friday's over and the 7th day of the week started? Or does that mean that you just makabel Kedusha Shabbos a little earlier?
So why doesn't the same apply to Kiddush?
Why doesn't the same apply to Kiddush? It's good. That's a good question. So I saw a nice piece from the Hilchos Chag here, from Rabbi Karp. He said he wants to say like this, that the Taz maybe is l'shitase. The Taz holds that by Sukkot to Shemini Atzeres, right? Let's say Sukkot you have to sit in the Sukkah. Let's say in Eretz Yisrael, Shemini Atzeres is for sure not Sukkot anymore. Shemini Atzeres you don't have to sit in the Sukkah. So let's say on Hoshana Rabbah, the last day of Sukkot, you're sitting in the Sukkah, and then you want to make early Shemini Atzeres. So you go to shul when it's early, you make Shemini Atzeres, and then you come home and it's still bright, the sun is out. Do I have to eat in the Sukkah, or do I eat in the house? So the Taz says, no, Sukkot is over. You daven Ma'ariv, it's the next day. You sit in the house, you don't have to sit in the Sukkah. And the other Achronim arguing the Taz says, what are you talking about? You can make Kabbalah Kedushas Yom Tov early, but it's still Sukkot. The day's not over yet until the day's over. So he wants to say maybe the Taz is L'shitase. The Taz holds that you have to daven Ma'ariv, you have to tzeis, because if you daven Ma'ariv earlier, the Erev Shavuos is over and the start of Shavuos, and the day's over and it's not Tamimus. So he wants to say maybe a Svara. What about Kiddush? So Kiddush, he says a nice Svara, even if you hold not like this, and you hold that Avadi you could daven Ma'ariv early, but Kiddush, the Pshat is like this. How many days do we count for the Sfira? We count 49. Really, you're supposed to count 50 days. Why do we count 49 days? Oh, I can't find it now, but it's in here somewhere. Why do we count 49 days? Why do we count the 50th day? So the Kiddush itself is like the Svir Saimer of the 50th day. When you Mekadosh the Shavuos, it's Chag HaShavuos, so that's the 50th day. Chag HaShavuos, the weeks are over. So you're actually finishing your Sfira with the counting of, with saying Kiddush. Huh? So that's a svara to say that when you down the svara that's how you count it. So therefore you want to do tamimois, so you want to start your kiddush after it says like a chavim. So you want to say davening ma'ariv, okay, you find you can daven ma'ariv early, but to make kiddush you want to make a kiddush for sure after it says like a chavim. And so he wants to explain the other shita, the shita of the shlah. So in any case, halacha l'maisa. So kiddush for sure we make after it says. There's actually another story here also. There's another shita, which is the brought down from the Netziv. The Netziv wants to learn that there's no halacha of Tosfos Yom Tov on Shavuos. It's a chiddush because you don't find this in the Poskim, but he wants to say from the Psukim that it could be this because it's Tmimus, but he wants to say from the Psukim it's Mavur that even though Shabbos and Yom Tov you can start Yom Tov early, and why could you start early? Because there's a halacha of Tosfos Shabbos and Tosfos Yom Tov. But on Shavuos there's no halacha of Tosfos Shavuos, and therefore you really can't start early even if you just tried. So therefore, al koch you have to make it after it says. So halacha l'maisa that kiddush for sure you have to do after it says kachavim. Davening marav we don't make early Shavuos, that's for sure. The question is how long to wait. How long to wait? I don't know what the minhag is here. But in Chutz La'aretz, where it's quite late, it gets quite late, so many people have the minhag not to wait so long. A person should try to wait, but if it's late, and it brings down by some places, by the time you finish davening Ma'ariv and eating the meal, that's how much time do you have left to learn? It's almost the morning, and that could be quite early. So, you want to make sure you get time in there, so you machber one thing, you make another halacha. So you have to have the, weigh out the options. So there's different minhagim. Again, how it noyeg. So l'chatchila, the Taz brings it down. The Shulchan Aruch to wait for Ma'ariv until it says like a chavim. But there is a marker for those that don't wait because the shlah is mavur. You don't have to wait. And again, there's a marker for each minhag. Definitely, one should wait a little bit. It shouldn't be, shkia too early. Wait something, at least you get one seis according to different shitas. 13.5 minutes, whatever the shitas are, you get something, and then you daven Ma'ariv. So that's for starting the night. The question is what you eat. You eat milchiks, you eat flesheks. The whole debate. So what's the shaila? What's the minhag? There's a minhag to eat milchiks on Shavuos, and there's a lot of reasons given. There's a lot of different reasons given for eating milchiks. So the Ramah brings down, "V'nuli hatam shu kamaya shnei tavshilin shaloichem below Pesach." So also on Shavuos, Zechel Pesach Lagiga. So he brings two reasons. First of all, because you have two kabbanas, it's called Chagiga, and you have the Ka'olos Riyah, and also because together with we brought on Shavuos Shtei Alechem, brought two breads. So one carbon that was made chametz, Shtei Alechem, two breads. So we want to have two breads. So why do you have two breads? Because we know the halacha is when you eat milchiks with the bread, you eat with the bread on the table milchiks. You shouldn't use that same bread for fleishiks. Or if you eat fleishiks with the bread, you shouldn't use that same bread for milchiks, because when you're eating the meat on the table and your hands are dirty, it touches the bread, or the knife is dirty, it touches the bread. So the bread might have fleishiks on it or milchiks on it.
Shape, no?
Why?
Bread you make different shape, right?
If it's really milchiks bread, but we're talking about you have a bread that's not milchiks. Just even if you use it, you shouldn't put on the table a milchik bread and the fleshik bread at the same table, the same bread to use over again, because it could get it becomes milchiks and fleishiks. At least cut off a piece and put the rest aside if you're going to use it for the others. So then you have to have two breads. So therefore we eat milchiks and fleishiks to have two breads. So Ramah is mashma that you should have in one meal. One meal you should have milchiks and fleishiks. So you should start the meal, let's say, with milchiks, right? If you start with fleishiks, you have a problem. You start with milchiks, and then you eat the bread with the milchiks, and then you clear off the table, and then you start the fleishiks. And this way you get shtei alechem, you get two breads, it's zeichen with shtei alechem. That's how it's mashma the Ramah.
What's the difference if you have stay left, what's this doing with inflation? You have the number two, but what does that have to do with different?
What?
Why is it milking inflation?
That forces you to have two breads. It forces you, because you can't have the same bread.
You don't have lechem mishim?
No, lechem mishim is one bread. That's eating one together. That's like one. But here you can't have it at the same time. It forces you to have two separate. You bring bread to the table for milchiks, then you get rid of it. Then you bring bread to the table for fleishiks.
What was the reason about the two karbanas? You said there were two reasons. And I don't understand it.
Not sure what he means here. He says just like we have shnei tavshilin. It means for shtei alechem. That's what Mishnah Berurah learns. It means for shtei alechem. Just like they have two karbanas, it means for the shtei alechem.
If you you want to have two breads, you have to bench in between.
Oh, so what do you do if you have two breads in the same meal? If you want milk and fleishiks in the same meal, do you have to bench in between? So that's a good question. So technically, halacha in mikra din, a person could have milchiks, and he could just rinse out his mouth, eat a little bread. Yeah, so technically a person could just have a person could eat bread, could eat milchiks, rinse out his mouth, make kinuach, take a little bread, eat it, and then he could wash his hands and just eat fleishiks. He doesn't have to make any hefsek, and he could do it in the same meal. So you wouldn't have to bench. Al Pizaya, some people are noyeg. Well, yeah, some people are noyeg to wait. Not to eat, the Zohar says not to eat in the same hour, which basically the Olam is noyeg to eat a half hour in between. Some people wait a half hour between milchiks and fleishiks. We discussed this when we gave a share on it. Some people wait. Again, mikra din, you don't have to wait anything. And the Shulchan Aruch is brought down, you just rinse out your mouth between milchiks and fleishiks. But there is some noyeg al Pizaya to make a half hour break in between. So if you make a half hour break, because then the Zohar is not to have it in the same Suda. So then what they'll do is they'll bench, take a walk, take a little break, walk into the other room, a half hour, and then start again a new meal on the fleishiks.
What's the problem? You have two meals. You have a milk when you bring one.
Like bread.
You have flesh when you bring a second bread. So you brought two. Well, why is it to be one meal? What's the problem with two meals? What's the problem with bench in between?
No problem.
He said maybe. What are you going to do though? You have to bench.
So you bench.
What was the question? You said maybe what you have to bench.
You bench in between. You want to have, if you're waiting a half hour, you're making a break. There's a hefsek. So then once there's a hefsek, so you bench. So if you go without the Zohar, so then you could just go straight. It's actually brought down that there are some that are, even like the Noigul, you like the Zohar, on Shavuos, ad k'dei kach, The Avnei Nezer held that on Shavuos you don't have to wait 6 hours between Fleishiks and Milchas. You can eat the Fleishik meal first, and you don't have to wait 6 hours for the Milchik meal. We're not knowing like that. We're not going to wait 6 hours even on Shavuos. But Avnei Nezer held on Shavuos, I guess because of Avim, they had Milchas and Fleishiks together, Malachim. So we're not knowing to wait. So the Avnei Nezer held you don't have to wait 6 hours after Fleishiks and Milchiks.
How long, according to Avnei Nezer?
I don't know how long they waited. I'm not sure.
So I think what he's asking is, if you're actually waiting the half an hour,
Yeah.
why then would you have to bench, right? Half an hour,
Well,
you're still not obligated to bench.
Yeah, not obligated, but if you're making 2 meals, so there's a Hesek Hadas. The point of the half hour is to make a Hesek Hadas. So there are 2 meals.
Rabbi, then you don't have Lech Mishnah one meal then, right? Don't you need...
No, you can have lechem misha 1 meal, but the Ramah is saying the 2 lechems we're talking about is at 2 different times. 1 milchiks, 1 fleishiks.
You'd have 2 at the first one and then bench and have 2 at the second. Yeah, because they're separate meals.
Yeah.
Why would the milk and Fleishik make you force that? You can have halacha, you bring one, you bring another one. So it's a halacha you have to bring. It's not forced enough. Why did you have milk Fleishik?
That's what Ramah says. That forces. That's how Ramah says. That forces you. The milchiks and fleishiks forces you to have 2 beds.
One forces you to do it. What do you have to split the 2 meals?
That's how he's learning. That's the force.
There are many other reasons.
There are other reasons for milchiks. I'm just saying with this reason, Ramah brings out halacha. Akoponim, so there's a different minhagim. So that's what I'm saying. So Avnei Nezer held that maybe you could even eat. So Akoponim, people take it that at least if you're not like the Zohar all year to wait, good. We wait after fleishiks to eat milchiks. But if you eat milchiks, Mikradin, you could eat right away fleishiks. So the Zohar says, Al Pi Zohar, no, you're not in the same Suda. So it says that doesn't apply on Shavuos. So on Shavuos, the Taka could eat milchiks and then switch over to fleishiks, just make a kinuach. But Akoponim, someone who's not so used to doing these things, you can get confused with milchiks and fleishiks. It might be better to Taka make it 2 meals, so
It's tough
for
on
the
the
different
wives.
minhagim. Some people, what they do is, what we do is to have, the reason to have fleishik is because some people just eat milchiks, but ain't simcha b'yabasa v'yayin. So there's a mitzvah upon maybe it's only drabanan today, but there's an inyan to eat flesh, to eat fleishiks to eat basar on for Sudas Yom Tov. So that becomes the issue. So how do you do it? So some people eat the night meal milchiks and the day meal fleishiks. Some people eat the night meal fleishiks, the day meal milchiks. So there's different ways to go about. What some people do is that after staying up all night, so you make kiddush. So you have a cheesecake, you have some milchiks, and then after the kiddush is 1 meal. And then later, when you wake up, you make another meal and you have fleishiks. So different minhagim. But rather, there's an inyan to eat milchiks, even besides the din of, besides that the meal should be milchik, stam to eat vash v'chol of tachas l'shoinich, because Torah is sweet, and we're showing that we want to have sweet matam zilin to eat. A cheesecake, good cheesecake is Indian on Shavuos. besides the besides the fact that the meal you want to have milchiks, whatever reasons are, the different reasons given for a.
Does anyone say it's halacha or is it minhag completely?
There are a few other reasons given. I must know the other reasons. Mincha chadosh al Hashem b'shvuos seichem, right? Chadosh al Hashem b'shvuos seichem is Rosh Tevis Cholov. It's brought down. It's a remes for it.
They didn't know the dinam of shchita.
They didn't know the dinam of shchita. There's another reason given. They didn't know the reason, right? They became moser. They couldn't shecht. There's another reason brought down in the Svarim that we know dam necha. It's not anyone that learned neither. You learn it too. You have to catch him. Dam necha v'nasa cholov. The blood turns into cholov. The milk actually comes from the blood of an animal. The isha also dam necha v'nasa cholov. So dam, red is midas adin. The whole sphere is midas adin. So we said avelis. And then on Shavuos it turns into cholov. White is midas harachamim. Chesed rachamim, that's white. It's chesed. So midas adin is mahapach to midas rachamim on Shavuos. So the dam nechav nasa chol, that's where we eat. So minik to eat chol, it's brought down.
Based.
Okay.
It's a black and white show.
Yeah. So that's brought down in the place of the Svarim. Also, al pi Musar, a person eats a lot of meat. You know, every Yom Tov we have to be Masameach. There's a mitzvah to be Masameach. Is in Simcha Elo Bebasa, but Basa and Yayin. But on Shavuos we're Masameach with the Torah. People have Torahs, they're mistapik more, pass melech teichel, you know, you can be mistapik more, read a little bit, and the person can still have simcha. Shmuel Birnbaum used to say that you don't have to read the Mishnah, pass melech teichel, he has to eat bread and water, you have to read the Mishnah like this. I eat bread and water, pass melech teichel, my Mesura Tishka, you know, with a stolz. So on Shavuos, that's, you know, we're mistapik, we can mochiks, we don't have to have a whole meat because we're misamech with the Torah, and that's the Ikar Simcha.
Who says that?
He brings down such a svara, he wants to say, brings it down. Opi Musa, Derech HaMusa.
How long ago did the minhag of staying up all night learning?
How long ago did the minhag of staying up all night start? So it started from the Beis Yosef. It actually was around for a while. People used to do it. Yechidim used to do it. And what happened was, it's brought down the Shloah Kodesh, brings down the whole write-up of Shlomo Alkabetz, was the author of the Chadaidi, as we know him. He wrote the Chadaidi, but he wrote also the Modas Alev. He wrote a lot of Svarim. He was a Shtickle Mekubal. And he's also in Sfas in that area. So before they went to Eretz Yisrael, I think this happened in Constantinople, that they were sitting around. There was a group of people which were together. There actually was the Rizal. I don't know if he was at this gathering, but the Rizal was in that group between him and the Rizal and the others, that they actually learned by the Beis Yosef. The Rizal wasn't, I don't know if he was part of that group yet. They had the Shita Mukabetzes, they had a whole group of people. But anyways, there was a group of people that they decided to stay up with the Beis Yosef on Shavuos night to learn. So it's written in the Shlot of Shlomo Alkabetz, who was there, wrote over what happened exactly. It's a fascinating story to read. But he said, so they started to learn, and they started to learn what we call Tikkun Leil Shavuos. Some people read Tikkun Leil Shavuos. So there's different tikkunim we have, but they basically started. They, you know, in their own minds, they knew what they were supposed to do. So they started learning Gemara, and they started learning Chumash. They read different Chumash from Psukim Menach, and they were learning, and you can read there what they went through. They went through Kamat the whole Mishnayos from top to bottom. They went through. It's unbelievable how much they learned in a few short hours, because they hit Chatzos in the middle of the Mishnayos. In the middle of the Mishnayos, they hit Chatzos, and then the Beis Yosef, who was leading the group, fell down, and a voice came out of his mouth that said, Ani Mishnah, I'm the Mishnah that you're learning. And from the time the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, there wasn't such a Simchat Torah Hashem like what's happening now this night, and he gave a whole in Yorei Kabbalah, and then he goes into, you know, how great it is, what's going on. And if you had a minyan, it would really bring up the Scheiner would really be brought up. If you would have had a minyan, they only had a few people. Now, if you keep on reading the story, it's fascinating. So they stayed up a whole night. After that, they learned. They didn't mafsek for a second, and they learned. And then the Beis Yosef gave they davened. The Beis Yosef gave a 2-hour share after davening. And then, I don't even know if he lied down for half hour or not, it doesn't say so clearly. Then before Mincha, he gave another share, read the thing. And then they got a minyan together to stay up the whole night again. They got a minyan this time, and then again it happened, and again the voice came out of the Beis Yosef, and the whole sort of things went on. So that was Mefarsim. He was Mefarsim it, and then it became a big inyan to stay up at night. So the Arizal brings down that if someone taka stays up a whole night, but he doesn't say any sicha b'teila. That's the hard part. Staying up all night is the easy part. Shows what you're doing all night. The guy stays up all night and doesn't any sicha b'teila, so it's muftachloi that he's going to be meshumah the whole year. He'll be watched the whole year. So the way says nothing's going to happen to him throughout the year. But it's a big Indian. But again, that's the side of staying up all night. Moshe Feinstein, I used to learn Staten Island. Moshe Feinstein. He got up every morning. I think at 5 o'clock in the morning he was up every morning. He used to learn from then until Shachos. That's when he prepared all shiurim. It's well known. Someone once called him during that time to ask a shaila. Then he called him again because it's the only time he could get him. He was learning. Finally says, I can't answer shilas during this time. This time is mukdash for learning. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to answer any shilas. So he would get up every morning at the thing. And Shavuos he got up an hour earlier. To learn. It was mafriya. He felt if he stayed up all night, he wouldn't be able to learn properly. So each person could fit kachaysav according to what he could do. The main thing is to spend the time learning. If a person is not going to learn just to stay up, doesn't have any, But again, if he's not going to learn during the day, he might as well stay up at night and learn. So that's the same trade-off. Person has to know what he's doing.
It's not if you're a night person or a morning person.
Yeah, but there is an aim to stay up at night, but it shouldn't be to the degree where you kill your whole,
Like this.
You could get up early. You could go to sleep for 2 hours, 3 hours, and then get up early and learn.
Can I ask you, maybe it's a silly question, why do we have holiday like Chag, Simchat Torah? It seems like the Shavuos, this is the time when we should dance with the Torah, this is we receive the Torah, this is we should make the sakofas, this is, like what's...
Why don't we do it now? It's a good question. Why don't we do the, Simcha? So, look, it's a good question. The Pashup Pshat is, just for now, the Pashup Pshat is that Shavuos is the beginning, is the Kabbalah Torah. You're accepting. Simchas Torah is L'goymer Shel Torah. We finish reading all the parshas. Why we did it then is a good question. I don't know why it's then, but Al Pi Pashtus, the Shavuos is a more serious time. Why do we have a Simcha? Kul Yom Binu Lachem. That's when we're Sameach. Everybody holds you have to eat. You have to eat matamim. That's the time we want it to be geschmack for us to learning. But Shavuos is a time of Kabbalah Torah, when we're accepting upon ourselves the yoke of learning, and we want to take it with a certain seriousness, and we accept it upon ourselves. That's the time of Shavuos. Simchas Torah is a time where it's the L'goymer Shel Torah, where we have where we finish and start. So that's the thing. Now, just a few halachas of staying. When someone stays up at night, and then comes the morning, there's always a question: what do you do? What brachas do I make? How do I make? When do I do? So, Simchat Torah, and they have the Shavuos for washing. So let's start first thing first. So if you stayed up a whole night, and there's time for Netilas Yadayim. So after Alois HaShachar, which is a question again when Alois is, we discussed this. But upon him 72 minutes before nights. A person, some people go 90 minutes before nights for others, but upon 72 minutes before nights, you go wash your hands. You wash your hands, you have to wash until Sidayim. Now, if you stayed up all night, technically it's a machlokes, it's a suffix whether you have to make a bracha, whether you chayv until Sidayim. Now, just as a background, there's one union of ruach ra. You got to wash for ruach ra. That's a shiloh if that comes from sleep or that comes from the night. So whether it comes from sleep, if it comes from the night, so then you went through the night. So for ruach ra, you got to wash 3 times. And then there's the takon of washing, which you make the bracha on, which is the halachic aspect, which is also a shaila according to the Rashba, because every morning is chadashim v'abkarim rabbi emunasecha. Even though you didn't sleep, the Rashba holds like plug. You please to make the bracha. The Rosh holds because your hands got dirty in the night when you were sleeping. So according to the Rosh, you wouldn't be able to make a bracha when you wash. So the eitz is given. According to the Rosh, the Mechaber brings down the eitzah that a person, if his hands got dirty, in other words, we hold. The Rosh holds you have to make a bracha until Sidayim before you daven Shavuos. You wash your hands to daven Shavuos, and your hands were dirty. You make halal until Sidayim. Just like when you wash for bread, you make halal until Sidayim. The reason why you make halal until Sidayim in the morning is because you're going to go daven. So you wash from after you slept. Your hands are dirty. You wash, and then you go into daven Shavuos. So you make halal until Sidayim. That's what the Rosh holds. So the eighth says if you go use the Beis HaKisei, if you go Gedolim, so then you're for sure mechuyev to wash and you can make a bracha. Even if you go Katanim, if you wiped the nitzotzis, so your hands have to get dirty a shtickle. If your hands get dirty a shtickle, so then you could make a bracha also. There's a shalom poskim if scratch your head, make your hands dirty, scratch your head. There's a big shalom in the poskim if that works to also help you make a bracha. But if you use the Beis HaKisei, you could make a bracha on the Netilas Yadayim, and you can be yoytze with that. So you can use the Beis HaKisei, you wash, and you can make on the Netilas Yadayim. You don't have to, if you're middle of learning, you don't have to get up the second Alois HaShachar is and go wash your hands. You can wait till you finish when you're ready to get up, because again, it's a suffix, so you don't have to run about that. As far as the brachas, so the only brachas that are an issue here, let's just put it in perspective. The only brachas that are an issue is Birchas HaTorah, which we'll discuss in a moment. And then you have the L'kai Neshama, and Hamav Sheni Me'enoi. Those two. The rest of the brachas you can make yourself. So a kind of shama, even though it could be as a shaila you make a dinner, could be that you could also make yourself. Or we're knowing not to make a kind of shama if you didn't sleep, and you didn't sleep. So those two brachas you don't make, and the brachas Torah. So what do you do? So what do you do? So.
What's the reason you can't make a bracha on Birchas Torah?
Why can't you make a bracha on Birchas Torah? So the shayla is like this. Every day we make another bracha on Birchas Torah, every morning. So the question is why? So there's basically two shittas in the Rishonim. Some Rishonim hold that every morning my bracha goes for 24 hours. It's like every day, you have to make a bracha every day. So my bracha goes for 24 hours. So every morning I'm going to make another bracha. There's another shita that holds, no, my bracha goes forever, unless I make a hefsek. So what's a hefsek? If I have a good geshmak, a sleep at night, that's a hefsek. But if not, I didn't make a hefsek, so my bracha keeps on going. So we have a safek bracha. Now, me'ikar adin we hold.
Not hesek hadas?
Well, that's a hesek hadas. That's a hefsek.
I mean, that's a long hesek. I mean,
no, if a person goes for...
You stop learning, you went to work, etc.
No, we don't do that. We don't hold... No. That's not considered hesek hadas. Why not? Because a person's mind is always on learning. What's supposed to do in his life? Learn. So even if he has to take a break...
Which is contrary to what you said in your Musar Shmooze when you said you should focus on what you have to do at that time and not...
Yeah, but even when you're taking a break, it's all for the purpose that you're going to go back to learn. If you're stopping, you have to eat, you have to sleep, and all that you should learn. But that's what Taisva says. A person, learning is not out of his conscious. You know? A person has a business. So, even when he's eating and he's sleeping, it's not totally out of his mind. He has to make sure what he's doing. A person's job is to learn. That's what Taisva says. So it's not considered a hefsek if he just takes a little break. So there are two nafkaminas. One nafkamina is if you don't sleep all night and you're up and you keep on learning straight, so when the morning comes, according to those shittas, you can't make a bracha. According to the shit holds that, every day you make a bracha, you have to make a bracha. And the other side is, let's say you have a good geshmak sleep in the day. Let's say you went for a 4-hour sleep, you got your pajamas on, you got to sleep, a good geshmak sleep in the day. Maybe that's a hefsek, maybe you have to make another bracha, Birchas Torah, when you wake up. So that's the shayla. So me'ikar adin we hold that every day you need a new bracha. And it's not the pshat that the sleep is a hefsek. The pshat is that every day you need a new bracha. So if you sleep in the day, you won't make a bracha when you wake up. But if you're up all night, you should really make a bracha Torah in the morning. That's me'ikar adin. But being that there are poskim that hold not like that, that hold that you need a hefsek of sleep. So Safach Brachas Lahakil, the Mishabur says, so you're not going to make a bracha Birchas Torah in the morning, Safach Brachas Lahakil. So what should you do? So according to the Mishabur, if there's nobody to make a bracha for you, you could be yotzev with someone else, find someone that slept, good, be yotzev with someone else. If you can't, so then by Avarabba, you have in mind an Avarabba, and that works. Right, that works by the Avid.
And as far as the kind of shema goes, you can't say that one unless you had some sleep.
Unless you had someone that goes to sleep, the shayla is we'll get to back in a moment. Mm-hmm. So Grad as Rabbi Kiva holds, Rabbi Kiva holds that if someone slept erev Shavuos, he wanted to sleep to prepare himself for the night, so he slept erev Shavuos, and then he was up all night. So Rabbi Kiva holds Manavshach he can make the bracha. Because since he slept erev Shavuos, so if you hold sleeping as a hefsek, so he had a good sleep erev Shavuos. And if you hold every day you need one, so now it's the morning anyways, it's every day. So if you slept erev Shavuos, you can make a bracha in the morning anyways.
Should have made it right after he got up then.
What?
Should have made it right when he got up.
No, because Safek brachas, you don't do that. Safek brachas. But by the morning, according to everybody, you can make a bracha, so then you make it in the morning. So that's Kivega, Mishabur brings it down. So that's the Eitzah. L'maisa, if you can't find anybody, the Shulchan Aruch Rav held that you could get one guy to make the bracha. Since Me'ikar Adin, we really hold every morning you make the bracha. You can get one guy to make the bracha, and everybody might see him. This way, not everyone's making a bracha, which is a Safek bracha l'vatali. You get one guy to do it, and he could be might see everyone. A lot of yeshivas are taking noyeg like that. The Mishabur held not like that, but a lot of yeshivas are noyeg like the Shulchan Aruch Rav to do that. L'maisa, if a guy slept for a half hour, shisin, nishmasin, if a guy slept 60 breaths, which is machlokes how long that is, for a half hour, during the night, he for sure can make the bracha. And even if he slept for 3 minutes, according to some poskim, that shishim nishmasin, if he can't find anyone else, he could also do it. The person put his head down for 3 minutes, so he could be the one to get up and make all the brachas.
So what about brachas if somebody takes a nap during the week? They take an hour nap.
We don't do it. We don't make a bracha because Ikva did we hold like the other sheets. Now, it's Richa, baby.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what we know. So even for the kind of Shama and for Scheiner also, again, could be maker a din, you're allowed to make the bracha. So if you can't find anybody, one guy gets up and makes it for everybody. And if you could find someone that slept even a drop, so he goes up and says it, and he doesn't have to sleep the whole night, as long as he slept the drop a little bit. So then he could be the one to get up and be mighty everyone, and that's how Taka Noig has to do it. The other brachas you can make yourself, so there's no issues. Tzitzis, we don't make a bracha on the talis cotton because you're wearing it straight, but you can make a bracha on the talis gadol. You can make a bracha l'satef. So when you make a bracha on l'satef, you have in mind. Anyways, we have in mind. You have in mind to be mighty the talis cotton. But if you have someone that's not married, so he could be listening to someone who's making a bracha on the talis gadol and be yotze.
So is there a problem if a person stays up all night and then they go to sleep during the day, and then they wake up, they don't have to make another birchas Torah?
It's a good shaila, but since we made already a birchas Torah in the morning, so we hold it out.
It sounds, with regards to bracha levatala, why would you make a birchas? Why would you even want to hear a birchas Torah if you're not going to learn afterwards?
After davening.
Yes, after the davening.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good question. In Torah 6 we have laning.
Oh, so
right, and that's interesting. We're bringing this up because some people say, well, we said Ava Rabba really works for birchas Torah, right? But yeah, if you didn't make birchas Torah and you said Ava Rabba, so then it works.
You have to have kavanah.
So you have to have kavanah.
Shema's learning too, no? Shema, saying Shema.
Shema is a shiloh, could be it's learning, it's a shiloh, it's not so pashut. But the shiloh is avas olam at night. Why is it that like birchas Torah? What's the whole shiloh you make birchas Torah in the morning? We daven Mariv, we said avas olam at night. So a lot of poskim hold because Ava Rabba you have laning afterwards. You have to learn right after davening. The halach is if you have in mind that Ava Rabba should be moitzi you for birchas Torah, you should learn right after davening. So by Shavuos you have laning, which is learning. But by Mariv you don't have learning right. I mean, before start you learn. First you go home to eat to this. So you don't have learning right after davening. So if you don't have, even if you have in mind, it might not work. So that's why it's only in the morning.
Another night, it depending if it would be Monday, Thursday, right? So that'll be enough for me to get lanes.
Yeah, or sit and learn something after davening. If you have in mind, Ava Rabba should work, so sit and learn something right after davening. That takes care of the birchas Torah issues. Chidad and Ben Ashchaya, the ones that say that Musaf is the Hakol Hoil Chachar Achisim, the Gemara dinners in Musaf. So even if you stayed off all night, you should make up stay for Musaf. And we'll end with this. And also, it's well known the Ma'aseh Makava of Yecheskel is in the first day Shavuos. I've told why they picked the first day Shavuos to do it. Everybody's sleeping, but it's one of the most chashuva haftarahs all year. Ma'aseh Makava, and so Shiloh, if you stand, you have to stand by the. If you're only listening, you're not laning it. You don't have to stand. The one who's laning stands anyways. But if you say along the after with the Balkaira, so you should stand. You're supposed to say it standing up, and definitely a person shouldn't sleep through it. Ma'aseh Makava is even though we don't really know what's going on, but it's just it's a big thing. So a lot of things are going on Shavuos morning during davening. So it's kedai, like a person is to take a few minute nap before davening, and this way you could daven with kavanah too. It's a big inyan, especially on Shavuos. Whether you stay up the second night, I don't think it's really the minhag of the olam here to stay up the second night. Although there are people, like we said, the Ma'aser Beis Yosef, they stay up the second night also. But most people, we don't have the koiches for that. Stay up the first night. It's interesting that Shavuos It's a shir by itself. We don't have time to get into it. But even though I only have 1 day Shavuos, at Chutzos we have 2 day Shavuos. Magen Avraham says Shavuos is a remez for the whole Yom Tov Sheni Shel Goliath, because the Torah was given on the 2nd day Shavuos, not on the 1st day Shavuos. Moshe was Hoisev Yamecha B'Daita. It's all kasha. Why we keep Shavuos on the wrong day? But Torah was given on the 2nd day Shavuos, not the 1st day Shavuos. They pushed it off a day. Shavuos Ben Matan Torah was a day later. So right. We have it a day earlier. So even though the Yom Tov Shavuos is a day earlier, that's one Shavuos. Why? But the Torah was actually given on the 2nd day. So the Magen Avraham says this is a big remez for Yom Tov Sheni Shel Goliath, that is the Iris, the Hashpah that we get on Yom Tov is around the 2nd day. It's not just we keep it because, Goliath, we don't know what's going to happen. That's the Alpi Nigla, that's the Pshat. But Alpi the 2nd day Yom Tov, there's also a lot of power put into that.
Being Kiddush early the 2nd day?
So the 2nd day, it's a good question. The 2nd day, we don't wait for Ma'ariv and all that, but you have to wait for a different reason, which is that you're not allowed to cook from the 1st day Yom Tov. You're not to achonis from the 1st day Yom Tov to the 2nd day Yom Tov. So like every 2 day Yom Tov, we have to wait. We wait Ma'ariv long enough time that you get home. They shouldn't be rushed. The woman shouldn't be rushed to do a Isser Doiraisa. If you cook from 1 day to the next day, you could get involved in Nisuim, and that's why we daven wait the 2nd day.
There's no Shavuos on the day of Mos Torah.
Right. That's correct. See? For us, we can still hop around and get Shavuos on the day of Matan Torah. Okay? We shall have a Chakosha B'Sameach.